the International Airport Development Company, the Iadc, Mr. Ken Springer, Engineering Manager, Rubis, Eastern Caribbean, Mr. Elroy Edwards, Country Representative, Rubis, St. Vincent, members of staff of Iadc, residents of Stubbs and surrounding areas, invited guests, members of the media, to each and everyone, good evening to you. This evening we are gathered here because there are certain issues that may or may not impact on you that you have some concerns about, and we are here this evening to look at those and to discuss them with you. But before we get into the issues, I want to ask Mr. Albert Harry to welcome you to this evening's session. Mr. Harry.
Dr. Rudy Maitas, CEO of Iadc, Mr. Ken Springer, Engineering Manager of Rubis, members from the staff of the Iadc, Mr. Elroy Edwards, Country Manager, Rubis as well, members of staff from Iadc, residents of Stubbs and surrounding areas. This evening we are here to discuss the possible impact that development on the Stubbs Bay area of the Argyle International Airport and what it will have on the environment and you, the residents. Well, I should say what it has already had on the residents, because we have already been experiencing a lot of dust, noise, etc., etc. But we're here this evening to find out when all this probably is going to stop. Because, you know, Stubbs Bay used to be our main recreational site. You will agree with me that Stubbs Bay used to be the evening line, Sunday evening line. Lots of you may have met your spouses at Stubbs Bay. You will agree with me. And so, there's a saying, there's a price you have to pay for development. Yeah. And we at Stubbs pay that price because we really, really need the international airport. So we want to find out this evening what Rubis is going to do and what impact that is going to have on us and the environment of Stubbs. We want to find out things like, would we be able to swim at Stubbs Bay again? Because you may have noticed that lots of rocks. We don't have a beach again. We have lots of rocks. So we want to find out probably from the CEO what's going to happen. Are we going to be able to swim in Stubbs again? Things like that of that nature. We want to find out what is it that the IADC is going to give back to, well, the international airport, of course. What is it that they're going to give back to us? You know, as to say, well, thank you for bearing up with all this dust and all this noise. Of course we want to hear the big planes rumbling over. That would be good noise. But we want a little bit something for the community. Some legacy project, probably, that we can look up. We can watch and say, yes, we would have based all this dust and noise, and now we have this to show. This evening, we're encouraging you to ask questions. We have some questions to ask. I have some questions to ask. I'm encouraging you to ask a lot of questions. Don't just sit there, because the gentlemen at the head table, they have a lot of answers for you. So once again, welcome, and please ask a lot of questions. Thank you.
Just to let you know, your parliamentary representative, Minister Stevenson, will be here. I apologize for him not being here as yet. He's running late due to traffic in Kingston. He's caught up in bad traffic, but he will be here. Right. And we are not going to delay. We're going to go straight into the presentations, and at this time I want to ask Dr. Matthias to make his presentation to you. Just to tell you, excuse us, they are seated because the podium had a malfunction, so bear with us. They will be making their presentation sitting down. Thank you. Dr. Matthias.
Thank you, John. Jen, and good evening to everyone. I want in particular is this one amplified? So I want in particular to welcome Ken Springer, who is the project manager from Rubis. He is based in Barbados, but he has been working with us at IDC or perhaps the last 12 months or thereabouts. And Elroy Edwards, who is the country manager of Rubis. They are here this evening to discuss with us about Rubis's role in the Iadc Airport project and the impact that it might have on both the environment as well as the airport going forward. I also want to recognize some of our visiting members here this evening. Sister Ryan is a noted radio personality and commentator. Uncle Gavin, we know as Andrew Simmons, a social activist, if I may call him that. And Albert Harry, a community activist as well. Peter Pompey. And I am so happy to see so many of the interested residents in Stubbs coming to this evening's discussion. Welcome. First and foremost, let me remind you that I am a Stubbs manager. And as Albert Harry said, he and me, we grew up swimming in Stubbs Bay. Right, Albert?
Yes.
And we grew up playing football on the old court there. I was expecting to see the representative for the NDP party, Mr. Mendix, who played football on the other side of me. At that time, he played for a team called Bangers. But I played for a team called Hilltop Spurs, and we used to bang them. Almost every time. And we bang germs too. So we had good days on the beaches in Stubbs and Raraku and Iadc, and on the playing field and stuff. So I remember. And as the CEO of the International Airport Development Company, I would do all that I can to preserve the beach at Stubbs and to preserve the Stubbs community. You can be sure. But as they say, every time you do a positive, you can be sure that there might be some negatives that occur as a result. I want to tell you a story. When I was a student in England in 1997, I went to a country called Malaysia, to the capital. It is called Kuala Lumpur. And I went there as part of my research and to present some of my research. I was writing a thesis on Malaysia. And other things. And when I went to KL, as it is called at that time, they were undergoing significant construction. They were rebuilding their city. And at that time, in 1998-99, people in the city were walking around the city wearing masks. Everyone had a mask around his or her face. I wore one too. And at that time, I thought about how difficult it must be for the people living in that city. In 2006, I went back to Kuala Lumpur with the Honorable Prime Minister Ross himself. We went there then to talk to the then President about assisting us with the management of this new Iadc International Airport. So I went there first in 1998, and I went back there in 2006. When I went there in 1998, the people were wearing masks. And when I went back there in 2006, I said, wow. Just simply wow. Anybody who looks at Kuala Lumpur now could hardly remember what it was in 1998. The transformation that has taken place in that city over time. The people who are living there now are proud Malaysians, but they underwent significant discomfort during the time they were building their city. As I told you, I had to wear a mask too, because the dust. You look around and you can hardly see 200 feet in front of you, because the dust was that thick. We do not have that issue here at Iadc or in Stubbs. And I am not saying that we should. But I'm just telling you that in some parts of this world, when we engage in development projects, the people recognize that they have to undergo some discomfort for the price of development. I am happy to tell you today that we are very close to the end of the period of this contract. We've been engaged in the building of this Iadc airport since 2008. And maybe for some people, it has taken far longer. In fact, for me, it has taken far longer than I would have liked. But I am very happy to tell you today that we are nearly finished, and we will be opening soon. I am sure nobody came here this evening to ask me when the airport will be open. I am sure about that one. You know, I'll tell you another little story. About a year ago or so, I said in a press conference that the Iadc airport was substantially complete. Yes, I said that. And that is true. Let's welcome the minister. He was at another conference, so let's welcome him. Yes, as I was saying, that I said at the time that the Iadc airport was substantially complete. And at the time that was true. But it became a talking point for many persons. And sometimes they spun the story in a very humorous way. In fact, I read once that somebody asked, then if the airport is substantially complete, does that mean that planes can substantially land? And you know, I found that quite humorous. But another piece of humor from that substantial completion was, one of my friends told me that he hired a gardener to do some gardening work at his house. And this friend of mine is a devout Labour Party supporter. And he left the man in the morning with the task to carry out, and expected that when he returned at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, the fellow would be finished. And when he returned, the guy didn't quite complete the task that he set it on, that he asked him to do. So he said to the fellow, well, you ain't quite finished the work, let me ask you to do. What's going on here? The fellow turned to him and he said, the thing is substantially complete, man. He said, this is you guys use this word, you understand what I mean, the thing substantially complete, you know. So the word substantial completion is an important word for a lot of people. But I am not telling you today that it is substantially complete, I'm telling you that it will be open soon. And don't ask me this evening about a specific date, I'm telling you it will be open soon. So the sorrows and pains of construction are near over. Soon we will be reaping the fruits of our hard labor. But I know that until the construction work is completed, there are some issues that residents of Stubbs have to deal with and have been dealing with over the years. And one of this is the impact that the dust has been having on your homes and impacting on your lives. I am aware of that. Yes, the dust is coming not only from the crushing plant, but it is also coming from the site as the trucks move around. We have a good lady called Kamita John who goes around the community and trying to gauge the impact of our work on the community so that we can respond in the very best way we could. Now, let us be honest about this. We are building the airport, and there are some things that we can control, but there are some things that we would not be able to control. The dust generated by the airport site, to a large extent, we cannot control. We have tried in many different ways to try to dampen the impact, but we have not been able to control it 100%. Now, for example, there are different times when the dust, and I'm sure you would notice that, when the dust from the site, especially from the crusher, is greater. When the crusher is working, there are times when the dust is heavier than other times. Right, that is true. And the reason for that is that we have put on the crusher some tarpaulin, and sometimes we also create a barricade, as it were, to lessen the dust that blows from the crusher as we crush stones. But when we are crushing the stones to create dust for the asphalt work that we are doing, it is virtually impossible to control the dust that comes from the crusher at that time. When we're using the crusher to crush for aggregate, different size aggregates, we have far greater success in controlling the dust that comes from the crusher during those activities, crushing for 5/8 and 3/8 and so on. But once we start crushing for dust, because when you're making asphalt, you need a certain amount of dust to produce the asphalt. And when you're crushing to produce dust, it's very, very difficult. We have found it almost impossible to control the residual dust that comes from the crusher, which is the dust that you tend to see in the environment around Stubbs. And you would see that more and more these days, because what we're doing is crushing to produce dust to make the asphalt for the final pavement works that we're doing. The good news is that the pavement works that we're doing is nearing completion. I cannot tell you today that it is going to be for another 2 weeks or for another 3 weeks. Because if I say that, you would say, well, Rudy said it was only for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and then maybe if we go on for 3 or 4 weeks, you would say that it didn't quite work out the way I said. But I can tell you that it is nearing completion. And if you go to Argyle, you will see for yourselves that the asphalt work or the pavement, the areas where we have to pave using asphalt is, I don't want to use this word, but substantially complete. It's substantially complete. Even so, we know we have to deal with the dust. Because if your home is affected by the dust, if when you wash the dust mess up your clothes on the line, if the dust is discoloring your home, and if the dust is affecting the children, we have to deal with these things. So we are not going to bury our heads in the sand and assume that it doesn't happen. And that is why we asked Kamita to go around into the community to talk to you, so that we could understand how our work is affecting you, and so that we can respond to it. We are not running anywhere. So we would want to know, and we would want to try our best to see how we can deal with whatever problems that you're having. Recognizing that there is very little that we can do about the dust coming from the crusher, especially when we are pressure produce dust. As I said after Harry spoke, we all want Stubbs Bay to look again the way it used to look. It used to be a nice beach. Very nice. In fact, the sea was very rough. Now I am a parent. I wouldn't allow my child to go and swim in the Stubbs Bay. If she goes out there, I'm going to go out there with her. I sometimes wonder how come my mother allowed us to go down to Stubbs Bay August time, Easter time, and swim, because it's a very dangerous place, really. Well, so you say. But when I swam there, it wasn't calm. So I don't know if climate change is making a difference now. But I know the beach was always nice and sandy. Nice, black, fine sand. And before we leave Argyle Airport, the International Airport Development Company will do all in its power to restore the beach at Stubbs Bay to as near as possible the condition that it was before we started our work. That is our obligation. That is what we ought to do. And we will try our best to make sure that before we leave Argyle, we restore the Stubbs Beach so that the residents of Stubbs and the surrounding communities can get back their beach to enjoy the way it used to. Now, I heard Harry talk about what legacy project the IADC is going to be doing for Argyle. Well, I'm for Stubbs. Not only for Stubbs, but maybe for Stubbs and Bonham, Bottom Stubbs, Upper Stubbs, Bonham, Cross Road, Church Road, Victoria Village, you know, all the surrounding villages. Calder too? Yeah, I know. Now he asked that question, but it is a strange question, because the answer is obvious. We are building a legacy project called the International Airport at Argyle. That is the legacy project. And you have to recognize that, you know, the good minister in his campaign addresses always say, I am from the constituency in which the Argyle International Airport has been built. It's a legacy project. And it is the most important project in the whole of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Of course, if you want us to build a bath on the Stubbs Bay, perhaps we can build that too. But that won't be a legacy project though. You already have a legacy project in the Argyle International Airport. And you have to start taking ownership of your project. It is your project. If he as the minister and representative can take ownership of it, you as a resident, you must take ownership of it too. It is your airport. And so you have to be proud of it. I am sure when you go overseas, and you go, for example, to Brooklyn, and you meet your friends Vincentians there, you're going to tell them, you know, Stubbs, that's where the international airport is in. Stubbs, you know the Argyle International Airport is in Stubbs, you know? That's what you're going to say? That's what I would say. Because you want to identify that I am from an area in St. Vincent where we have an important thing, and this thing is our thing.
So we have a legacy project already, Albert. We don't need another. I don't think you can have another legacy project bigger than this one. But it is true that with the airport in your community, you may ask the question, how can we continue to partner with the International Airport Development Company and the company that will manage the airport going forward? How can the community interface with that company to ensure that some of the benefits that flow to the airport also flow to the community? That is an important question. There are, of course, many ways in which the community can benefit, not only by partnering with the management company, but if you remember, we had, I think Jennifer Richardson organized a town hall meeting here about 2 years ago, where we talked about some of the different things, some of the different businesses that people in the surrounding communities can engage themselves to benefit from the Iadc International Airport. And we don't have to tell you how you can benefit. I am sure as time goes by, you yourselves would start recognizing the different kinds of ways in which you can do business to make some money from the airport. Because everybody who comes to Iadc will be driving through this community. So the airport is in your community and you have to start thinking, how can we benefit from it? You can't allow other people to come and benefit from it and you don't. So that is something that you need to think about. And those are the positive impacts of the construction of the Iadc Airport. Before I was talking about the negative ones, about the dust and the stones that are on the beach and the noise and so on. But we need to focus on the positives, because when we conceived of this idea of building the airport, the idea was the positive externalities, the positive benefits that we can get from the airport project. If the negatives were greater than the positives, we would never have engaged ourselves in this exercise. So we have to keep focused on the positive impacts that are likely to result from the airport project. When we are almost done, we at the Iadc also intend to engage in a beautification exercise of the lands around the airport project. So you may see that we've created some embankments and they are not the most attractive right now. But we can't focus on that now because we are focused on finishing off the work within the airport fence so that the airport can become operational. And we want to have the airport become operational very soon. But when we have finished the work within the fence, we will be engaged now in a number of small projects outside the airport fence. And one of them is, of course, to build a road that traverses the southern end of the runway. We are talking about a road that will exit the main road near to the Mokok Junction, and that will go around the southern tip of the runway, pass by the crushing plant, and join back with the old railroad road near to the old sugar mill tower. So that road will take you back around to the railroad pond. And that is a new road that we will be building. We are right now building or rebuilding the old Iadc road. That is the road that exited the site near to the Peruvian Bill School. So we are in the process, well, if you say Iadc School. So the Iadc School, I always call it Peruvian Bill School, but the minister said it is Iadc School, so exited at the Iadc School. So that road is under construction right now. And effectively what we're doing there is rebuilding the old Argyle Road. So residents on the eastern side of the airport will have access to the main road using both the old Argyle Road going towards the Argyle School, or you can exit, or you can approach the main highway using the road that will be exiting near to the Mount Hope Church. So we are in the process, or we will be starting that road pretty soon. In addition to that, we intend to do some work on improving the Raraku site, the Raraku recreational site. Most people would not know that although the Ministry of Tourism and the National Parks built the Raraku recreational facility, Iadc has spent a lot of money and time building the parking area, building the roads towards that facility. And we intend, before we complete our works here at Argyle, to continue to enhance the facility down there, which I am sure many persons from Stubbs and the surrounding communities use. We intend to beautify that as well. So we are not going to only be beautifying and enhancing the Stubbs Bay, but we are going to be spending some time enhancing the Raraku Pond as well, not only for Stubbs and the surrounding communities, but for everybody who uses those facilities. I trust that I have touched on some of the things that we are going to be doing and the ways in which we are responding to the negative impacts. This evening we are here in particular to talk about the Rubis fuel facility and how that facility is being constructed and how it will be operated, and what impacts it might have on the community, the Stubbs community. We have Ken Springer sitting here next to me, and he will be speaking about that. I want to tell you that we are very happy that Rubis is engaged with us. The airport needs a refueling facility. Every airport needs a facility that allows planes to be refueled. And we are very happy that Rubis has engaged with us in this contract to provide this facility. What they are doing at Stubbs is essential to providing the service. You would notice that they are constructing a fuel farm near to our airport. Ken Spring, I'm sure, will give you the specifics on that. I just want to say that what they're doing is part and parcel of delivering an airport, an international airport at Argyle. And we welcome it. We encourage them. We entered into a contract with them, and we are very supportive of what they are doing. And to the extent that we have to assist in mitigating whatever negative impacts their work might have in the community, we are also prepared to do that. But I'll let Ken Springer tell you the details of their facility. And as you ask the questions, we can see how we can respond to that. Thank you very much for coming, and we'll have a discussion.
This is Ken Spring over here on the left. He's from Rubis, and he will be taking us through the Rubis presentation. Mr. Spring, it's over to you.
Good evening, one and all. I want to bring you greetings from your CARICOM sister nation, Barbados. It's a pleasure being here, and it's a pleasure to be in the company of the friendliest people that they are in the Caribbean. That's my humble opinion. I told my mom and my dad and my wife that I am leaving my little country to come to St. Vincent to take part in a political meeting, and they all laughed. Someone asked me, you're not going to get into politics? I said, for sure, I'm not a politician. But it is a very humbling experience to share with you Rubis fueling facility for Argyle International Airport. And before I forget, let me establish some protocol. Ms. Richardson, Chairman, Dr. Matthias, CEO of Iadc, Honorable Minister Stevenson, Elroy Edwards, Country Representative for Rubis, and the staff of Iadc and the residents of Stubbs Bay. Good evening, sir. I have a very short presentation, and it's a pictorial presentation of what we have built so far and what our plans are for construction to complete this facility. As you know, that aircrafts need fuel to get from one location to the other. And we are governed here in the Caribbean by the Eastern Eastern Caribbean Civil Aviation Authority. But Rubis has have aviation facilities in the Eastern Caribbean. We are aware that airlines normally come and audit the facility for the purpose to ensure that we have a safe, quality installation. So, and these auditors come as far as, you would say, from Europe, United States, and they will not allow any of their aircrafts to land in this facility if the fueling is not of quality and meet all of their requirements. I want to stress this point to let you know that the fueling facility at Argyle is not what someone just conjure up as what we want to do. It has to meet, and it will meet, all of the international standards. It was built to the international standards. So you have a facility that meets international standards and will be ready to operate when the airport goes into operation. So when I was preparing this presentation, I thought that I will focus on three things: the fuel terminal, the mooring facility. This is the berth at Stubbs Bay, off Stubbs Bay, and also our pipeline system that transport the fuel from our ships to the fueling facility. And these are the three main components of this installation. As you can see, that's the site plan for the facility. Basically consists of 2 tanks, storage tanks for storing jet A1 fuel, which is typically the fuel for aircrafts. We're also going to have storage for aviation gas, which is another fuel. And this is normally for smaller aircrafts. So at Argyle, we'll be able to accommodate all of the aircrafts that will land at the facility. As you drive to and from Georgetown, you will have noticed that we have completed 2 tanks, as you see erected there. One is a 10,000 barrel tank. The other one is a 3,000 barrel tank. That capacity was envisioned to allow as that's a total? Yeah. Total of 550,000 gallons of jet fuel. This we have calculated that this would give at least at the start about 30 days supply, 30 plus days supply of fuel at the aviation, at the airport. This is at what we would say year 1. As you will know that Argyle is a baby, has been born, you know, and as it get mature, the volumes will increase, but we have taken into consideration that the growth of the airport. So once the airport grows and more fuel is required, then the ships have a shorter rotation. But we anticipate that the shortest rotation would be at least 2 weeks. So you expect a tanker to be, when the airport is let's say year 5 or year 6, they have a rotation of about 2 weeks. But now we anticipate that it will be 30 days plus rotation. Next slide. This is the tank for the aviation gas. It's a smaller tank, about 10,000 gallons of aviation gas. Aviation gas is not many engines are designed to operate on aviation gas, but we thought that with the operation between the mainland and the Grenadines, that you may still have some aircraft operating with aviation gas, that we need to supply this option to the international airport. With this gas will be, this product will be imported in ISO containers into St. Vincent and offloaded into this tank. This is not peculiar to St. Vincent. This is a typical operation for Rubis with aviation gas because it's of smaller quantities. So we don't transport it via our tankers. I spoke about quality of product. I have shown a picture which is the internal pipeline of the fuel farm. And I want to draw your attention to these two, look like smaller tanks. These are what we describe in industry as filter separators. That separates water, also other contaminants that may be found in the fuel. As I mentioned, that these are the part of the auditing requirements from the aircraft owners, that we have to have a facility to filter or the fuel before it goes into our truck. So that is our filtration system. to ensure quality. Rubis is, safety is #1 priority at Rubis. And again, as I said, that we need to meet international requirements. Therefore, we have installed a fire system, which includes of a water tank and a pump, which would allow Rubis to control or extinguish any fire within our facility and at least give the local fire attendant 30 minutes at least to get to our sites. It's at least. So I believe that, I can't remember the calculation of how much gallons of water that is being stored in the tank at this point in time, but I know the international standard requires that you have at least 30 minutes of water supply, and we have that at the airport. So we are we are able to handle any fire issue that occur, if it occurs, God forbid, at the airport. So this picture is your beloved Stubbs Bay.
Excuse me, you say at the airport, you mean at the airport or?
Sorry, at the fuel facility, yes. Not at the airport, the overall airport. This is your hydro survey of your beloved Stubbs Bay. The reason why Rubis carried out this survey was to determine the depth of waters in Stubbs Bay, to determine that if our ships were able to come into Stubbs Bay to offload. You're not able to see the various depths, but the writings are pretty small, but it spans from the shoreline up to over 12 meters of water that encompass this entire area right here. If the lines that are in green, you have, this is what 8-meter line, and this is the 9-meter line right here, which is about 30 feet of water. Our tankers will be moored in that area. So a 30-meter depth. So we have adequate water depth at Stubbs Bay to allow our tankers to come in. Just to let you know that it's not any different tanker that you would have seen at Great Bay, right? Great Head Bay, yes. It's the same tanker that you would see at Great Head Bay, will be the same tanker that will be coming up to Stubbs Bay. And let me assure you that we met with the Maritime Department here, also the Harbor Master, and there's a particular procedure that we ought to follow because Stubbs Bay waters can get pretty choppy. We are only going to offload product during daylight hours. That is an agreement that we have with the Maritime, and it's an agreement that we will stick to only during daylight hours. The reason for that, we need to see if there's any problems. We will be able to see it quickly and able to rectify it. In addition, we are going to install a anemometer, yes, which measure wind speeds, and we will only berth at Stubbs Bay when the wind conditions are within the agreed setting, which I can't remember right now. And we will be not diverting from that because it would be an unsafe berth and an unsafe discharge, and Rubis responsibility is to the communities that we work in, and we will not operate an unsafe operation. So that's another agreement that we have with the Maritime and the Harbor Master. As you can see, this is a little outline drawing of what we envision the berth will look like. These will be the buoys. So typically in a mooring facility that's seen in operating in the Caribbean Sea, we would have 3, sometimes 4 buoy positions, and because of the condition at Stubbs Bay, we have decided to go with 5, or at least our design requires that we go with 5 to ensure that the boat, when it's tied up, will be secure at Stubbs Bay. So we did not take anything for granted. And each buoy is anchored to the seabed by the anchors at the seabed. As you can see, there are some buoys that require 2 anchors. And some that require 1. Our calculations has indicated that once the vessel takes this orientation and ties up as required, we will ensure that we have a safe discharge during daylight hours. These are the buoys that we actually researching at this point in time. There are foam-filled buoys, steel, actually with a steel frame with foam embedded on the steel frame. And these are what the industry is moving towards. If typically you would have seen about 10, 15 years ago, all steel constructed buoys. But these represents, they're easier to fabricate, and they're lighter for transport and so forth. So we have decided to go with these foam-filled buoys. Now, the pipeline. Now, this is the best, and I want to apologize for this thing, but this is the best drawing that I got to show the extent of where the pipeline runs from the length of the runway up to our fueling facility. So just, I'm not sure you all can see this green line here, but the green line comes on the, our pipeline will be outside the fence of the airport aerodrome. Well, outside the fence of the airport, running along. That makes a 90-degree turn, goes up to our facility right here. So it is a relatively, well, it is a straight run, and it's not a very complicated installation because of the selection of pipe that we chose, which I would show to you some other slides. But basically, our pipeline transport system consists of 2 systems. One which described as the subsea pipeline, and the other is the onshore pipeline. The subsea pipeline We constructed a steel pipe, approximately 1,500 feet. So it extends from the shoreline at Stubbs Bay out to 30 meters of water depth. And that pipe will be secured by concrete anchor on the seabed. So realistically, we are only taking up 8 inches of real estate, 1,500 feet long. That is as the extent of our subsea pipeline. This pipeline will be protected by anodes, sacrificial anodes, which will ensure that the pipe will not corrode. It is part of our operation procedure that all subsea pipelines must be inspected annually. So we normally contracted divers to go and dive the full extent of the pipeline. Then the other system with the onshore line consists of 10-inch plastic, what the industry call high density polyethylene pipeline, HDPE pipe. We selected that pipe for several reasons, which I would show you in the other slide. So as I said, it's 8-inch pipeline at 1,500 feet. Go out to the depth of approximately 30 feet of water depth, secured by concrete anchors. This is the design that this is the pipeline. These are the concrete anchors. What I'm showing here is that there will be some smaller buoys, because there will be a subsea hose. It will be a subsea hose that actually connects from the ship to the subsea line by this hose right here. Next slide. The onshore pipeline, as I said, is 10-inch HDPE pipe, totaling 7,800 feet, extends from the shoreline to the fuel facility. The advantage of this plastic pipe is that its corrosion resistance is plastic. It has similar or improved strength of steel. Joints, because the joints are electrically fused, the joints is twice as strong as the pipe itself, each joint. It's more flexible than steel, so we are able to pull it and push it in the necessary that we wanted. And last, and certainly not least, is far easier to maintain, because we don't have to consider the effects of the corrosion. Let me say that this plastic pipe is this installation is the first of the type in the Eastern Caribbean. So St. Vincent is pioneer as it relates to this pipeline installation. And we are confident that it will work, because Heathrow Airport, I understand, has this pipeline installed. Is installed above ground. We are installing below ground. And I think St. Martin too as well airport has this pipe system too as well. So it's pioneer for the Eastern Caribbean, but we are not the first. this is the established material that is being used, but because of the several advantages, we thought it be ideal for St. Vincent. And just let me say to you that installation of this pipe compared to steel pipe is, this pipe can be installed about 6 times faster than the steel pipe. As you can imagine, that you have to weld steel, allow it to cool, and then someone has to extract all the joints and so forth. With this, as I said, it's electrically fused, no significant cooling time, and the pipe is ready to be installed in the trench. So this is a significant advantage for Stubbs Bay and also for Argyle. And we believe that this would be a permanent solution. I can tell you that this pipe will outlive all of us in this room. So without any maintenance. Just a picture of what the pipeline looks like installed in the trench. It's black in color. This is the joints that I was telling you about. That's twice as strong as the pipe itself. It has similar fittings like an elbow. These are elbows to the top here. So steel pipe has elbows, this plastic pipe has elbows, T's. It's everything like steel, but it's plastic, if you could say that. So tremendous advantage for Argyle. That's the end of the presentation. Just want to say as relates to the subsea section of Stubbs Bay, especially we're in transition between subsea and the onshore pipeline. Now, because we have to transition and because we are required to ensure that we have a safe and controllable system, we have to install a valve box at the beach at Stubbs Bay. And you will be happy to know that this valve box, if it is 4 feet square, that is big. So as it relates to the real estate that we would be impacting on Stubbs Bay, it will be minimum, but there will be a physical valve box at Stubbs Bay where the steel and the plastic pipe transition. And that will be the only thing that you would be physically see at Stubbs Bay, because that box has to be, you have to have access to it to either open the valve or close the valve. So I believe that with this installation, the impact would be minute at Stubbs Bay. And again, just let me say that Rubis has subsea pipelines in Barbados. So it is not, this installation is not new. We're at the Adams Airport. As it relates to hoistings, it is further than where Stubbs Bay is to Argyle. So, sorry, 3.5 miles hoistings from the airport. Yeah. So, you know, Rubis is not reinventing the wheel with Argyle. We are using proven technology and engineering principles to ensure that Argyle have a safe and reliable fueling operation. I did not go into much detail about the operations of the airport because it would be to show it, it'd be a lot of words and a lot of what abbreviations and the terminology that we use in the industry. So I wanted to stay away from that, but to show you how we are going to, how we're installing and how we're going to ensure that safety is a priority with this installation. So I want to thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Springer. I know the questions are turning in your heads, but before we get to that, we do have the minister. I want to welcome you, Minister, and ask him at this time to make his presentation.
Thank you very much, Jennifer, Dr. Matthias, and Brother Springer, for this St. Caribbean, Mr. Edwards, my local rep. I recognize the presence of Andrew Simmons of James, and Mr. Sister Ryan. I see Roger Young from the Ministry of Social Development, Karen Iadc, and the residents of Stubbs, the other members of the Iadc, the media. I'm happy to see our Sherman Benjamin. I'm just up here there from IKTV. Let me first of all apologize for being late. We had a member of staff who late yesterday. Karen and myself and Roger coming in late, that's because we have to attend the funeral. But I'm indeed very delighted, as always, as a parliamentary representative, because I'm concerned and the residents of the area are concerned and have expressed their own concerns to me in relation to what is happening as it relates to the development of Argyle and the construction of the Rubis facility. And I thought it fitting to ask the Iadc to convene this town hall meeting so that you can come and you can ask questions and have them answered. I am here to listen, so I'm not going to make any long speech because I just want to hear from the residents. I know some of the concerns that they have are in relation to the river mouth, the blocking of the river mouth, what is going to happen with this Stubbs Beach, an access road, whether the IDC would put in an access road for the residents at Stubbs to have access to the Stubbs Beach and some of the other developments that are going to take place. My brother, Mr. Springer from Rubis, mentioned in relation to the facility on the beach, whether or not there will be some form of employment, because you know the politicians, we always have to look for employment opportunities for the residents in areas that support and they are. So those are some of the basic concerns, and I'm here basically to listen and to gather as much information as is reasonably possible. I don't want to go into a long speech. I know that the residents are here and they want to share their concerns, so I thank you very much.